It's the Rock and Roll Morning Show for a Thursday morning as we continue about halfway through things today and kind of continuing with our tradition here on the morning show since COVID-19 has begun and talking with different people. We've had doctors and health directors on and nurses and mental health therapists. And today we are very pleased to welcome in Ohio Lieutenant Governor, Williams County and Montpelier native, John Husted, to the program this morning. John, thank you so much for taking time to visit with us here in Williams County in Northwest Ohio.
Glad to be with you. Wish it was under better circumstances, but we'll get through this.
Absolutely. Yeah, I wish it were too. Hard to believe we're about a month into COVID-19, or at least as far as Ohio is concerned. We got a lot to unpack. Like they say, there's song lyrics, a long way to go and a short time to get there, because I know your schedule is busy and tight today. So I want to start, if we can, let's talk about an executive order that came out earlier this week that is providing, this is really good news, nearly $5 million in emergency funding to help those that are in need through food banks. Could you touch on that a little bit this morning, John?
Yeah, one of the things that happens is when coronavirus is not just a health virus, it's an economic virus with a lot of people losing their jobs. And really, I've never seen in my life a circumstance where the economy was so affected so quickly by an event. And so a lot of people are in need of food support. And our food banks across the state were running low. The team worked to identify $5 million that was made available to help restock the shelves in the food banks around Ohio. But $1 million of that was dedicated toward dairy farmers and helping to create a market for their dairy products, to get those processed and put them in the food banks. And those monies were focused on Ohio dairy farmers. So we want to try to do our best to help people who help our farmers and to help put food on the table for people who need it most. And doesn't mean that problem's solved. It's just it is helping in time of need for the food banks around Ohio. So we were able to get that accomplished this week.
Okay, I want to move on now to talk a little bit about, they go hand in hand, jobs and unemployment. And first thing, let's start with something that came down yesterday that you talked about during the 2 o'clock news conference about the unemployment, the website. And this is not an exact science. The system originally done in 2004 wasn't built to withstand what's going on right now. And we're in the process of seeing changes both this week and next week. For those that didn't see the 2 o'clock press conference yesterday, could you tell us a little bit about what's going on with the unemployment site, John? Yeah,
well, what's happened is that the system that was built in 2004, it's a mainframe computer. Most for the technology people, you'd want to have something like this in the cloud where you can quickly revamp it and add capacity to it. But this system is old and can't do that. It was serving Ohioans fine when the unemployment rate was 4%. But we've had more people apply in 1 month than we have in the last 2 years. And when this hit, there were 42 people working in the call center. Why were there so few? They didn't need any more. Why waste tax dollars on funding employees that you didn't need? But when the coronavirus hit and the economic consequences of that came along, now there are 1,192 people working in the call center. They've been able to upgrade it by training people and getting there, but that's still not enough. And they continue to add capacity. They continue to build more computer capacity, more call center capacity, more processing capacity. And we will not be satisfied until they serve everybody at the level of customer service that we expect, where people can get through that process much more easily. The one thing I want to share with your listeners is that no matter if you've been trying for a week before you get through, your benefits will be backdated to the point you were first eligible for them, and so there won't be you won't lose a benefit because the technology didn't serve you well. Usually takes 7 to 10 days before your claim gets processed and the money gets deposited in your account or the check gets in the mail. The additional $600 that's coming under the CARES Act per person will be processed in a week or so, and so this is coming as fast as it can, but it's still not as fast as we wanted. Also, for those who are independently employed or 1099 filers, that system by the end of next week will be able to accept your claims, and then those claims should be paid starting around mid-May. So that's the scoop on that. That's the situation. We're pushing to get it done as fast as we can.
Had a listener call in, and I don't know if it didn't say in I'm sorry, not call in, but an email. Not sure if she's not capable, but she's been going with the call-in version and asked me to pass this along to you. But not sure if you've been aware of, but she said she's on her 4th week of being unemployed here locally, and she feels like that she hasn't even had anybody look at her claim as of yet. She says she's been trying to reach them since day one and cannot get through. She says she doesn't even get the option to wait. And she says she calls from the second things open until they close and still can't get through. So I don't know if going to the website is not an option, because obviously we would lead her in that direction to try that route. But something to pass along, I guess, to you to be aware of at least.
Well, if off air you can give me her contact information, I will work to try to get her assistance.
Sure, I will do that. As far as also Governor's Office of Workforce Transformation, working in partnership with the Development Services and Job and Family Services, launching a new job search site, helping connect essential business with those who are ready and able to work today. Maybe if you would, John, expand on that a little bit, talk about how that's working and what's going on there.
Yeah, that's an important thing to note. While we do have people who've lost their jobs, there are employers who are hiring because they've seen their business actually spike during this time. They might be anybody that's in the food supply chain. Some folks there, particularly grocery stores and people who are in that supply chain, have seen spikes. Healthcare certainly has seen everywhere from nursing home settings and other kinds of settings. Manufacturing people that are producing things that are more in demand during a time like this. All of them, and this website is coronavirus.ohio.gov/job search, and there are nearly 670 employers who I would consider not just essential but critical to this, and over 41,000 jobs have been posted there in just weeks of additional hiring that these businesses are trying to do. So if it may be worth a look for anybody who has some time on their hands now, maybe didn't qualify for unemployment, maybe was a student who had other plans and now can help pitch in, make a little money, and help solve a problem out there. So I really encourage people to go to coronavirus.ohio.gov, which there's a lot of information there, but if you want to go to the job search function, then you just type in /job search.
Talking with Lieutenant Governor here in Ohio, John Husted. We were talking off air about Ohio and Michigan and kind of comparing and contrasting what's going on since we're a border state there. Could you touch on that a little bit about, I guess, compare, contrast the two situations in the two states right now?
Yeah, it's interesting. Michigan has had far more cases of coronavirus and far more cases, far more deaths. The latest statistics I saw had Michigan at nearly 2,000 deaths, and Ohio at slightly over 360 deaths. And you get these questions. Why so much worse in Michigan than Ohio? Well, we took these actions a little bit earlier than Michigan did, but I think Michigan has had the unfortunate circumstance of having an election the week before we canceled ours, which brought people together in common places from all over the state. That has certainly contributed, in my mind at least. It also is the home of an international airport where you had people coming from all around the world. to one location, interacting, and then going back out. And a lot of, obviously, Michigan folks use that airport. And that's why, those are some of the factors that are involved. But I think the early decision by Ohio to shut some of these larger gatherings down helped. The fact we didn't have an election helped, and I think the spread due to the international nature of the airport were all factors that made this spread much faster in Michigan than in Ohio.
John, as you're well aware, Governor DeWine and your office, both offices obviously have received some letters from Congress or state senators. We have one here that represents our district, one in West Central District, about kind of, I guess, conveying this is a kind of a multi-part question, conveying the frustration and I guess maybe some disenchantment from the businesses that are deemed non-essential businesses and also the caseload here in rural Ohio is a little bit lower in terms of, or a lot lower than cities. And how can, maybe it's time to start thinking about opening or reopening these non-essential businesses. How would you respond to that? What would you say to those business owners that are, maybe listening this morning, in maybe squelching some of their fears and concerns?
Well, their fears and concerns are valid. We don't want this to last one day longer than it needs to. We're trying to balance that health aspect because for every person out there that feels that way, there's somebody who maybe has a compromised health condition. Maybe there's somebody who's in one of those more vulnerable groups over the age of 60. Who is also saying, but I'm also pretty worried about getting this because if you do have those compromised health conditions, it's a highly deadly disease, and so we're trying to balance that, figuring out how we build in these safe workplace conditions. This is something I work on. I'm going to be probably missing the 2:00 news conference today, so that I can work on this because I want to get things opened up faster, as fast as we can. And when I say that, it doesn't mean like we'll just flip a switch and it's going to happen overnight. I think that non-essential businesses who do business work are probably some of the ones that you can open up earlier. If you're talking about large venues where people come together and gather, events like that, those are probably the last things that you open. So it's really based on how can you operate as we restart some aspects of our society and economy. What can you operate the most safely? What are the things that are operated least safely? And then prioritize those and begin to roll back the restrictions now that we have good news in Ohio that we seemingly have squashed the curve, that we don't have as bad of a situation as they do in other states. And I hope that those early decisions in Ohio, and frankly, the credit of Ohioans who have complied with it very well, hopefully that will put us in a position where we can begin to peel back some of these regulations sooner rather than later.
And I understand I find it more of, guys, a fascinating question is how this happens, not when. We all want the when, and we all want that when to be now, but there's three factors that you guys say that go into how this is going to happen here in Ohio as far as kind of I refer it to like a soft opening of a restaurant, a soft opening of the state. Those three factors would be, John?
I would say that it's, first of all, seeing a sustained decline in the number of hospital admissions and ICU admissions would be one. Making sure that we have enough personal protection equipment, masks and things like that for the most vulnerable settings like nursing homes, congregate settings, hospitals, things like that. And then that we have a testing regime in place to do more testing and to help isolate people to test more people, and then if they have it, to isolate them so they don't spread it. Those are the things that you want to have in place. Some of them, all of them are falling in place. It's just that the faster we can get those, the faster we can begin to relieve the restrictions. And then also a list of good workplace practices and protocols, because you want businesses to open, but you also want their workers to come back because they feel safe, and you also want their customers to come back so that they feel safe. Because you can open it up, but if you don't have workers, you don't have customers, it doesn't do you much good. And so you gotta build all those things together. They are being built. They are very close to being ready to go.
Okay, I know you got to get out of here. Short answer on this one. When can we expect to hear a decision on schools announced? Pretty soon?
Yeah, schools, I don't want to paint a rosy picture there because schools are one of the things that when you talk to the health epidemiologists and so forth, that's one of those settings where you have people that come close together that have a hard time social distancing. And even though young people are not likely to suffer a mortality due to a coronavirus, they are the kind of people who easily spread it by going to see mom and dad and grandpa and grandma and all those kinds of things. And so those are the things that are probably further down the list on what will come back first.
Okay. I'll let you get out of here on this. We always wrap up the show every day. We've tried to take a positive, optimistic approach to it. We end with a positive, motivational thought for the day, quote for the day. You don't have to do a quote. You can if you want, John. But as we wrap up the interview, what would be your final words, thoughts for listeners here in Northwest Ohio to take away from today?
Well, we're all in this together. We're a gritty bunch of tough people who get through tough times. We'll get through this one. We'll come out the other side, and life will be well again. But this is a once in 100 years kind of pandemic, and you'll remember what happened, and you'll remember how you got through it. And I hope your memories are good ones because you did the right things, and you. We're a good example for others, and we will prevail. It's just a matter of time.
John, thank you so much for being generous with your time this morning. Just wanted to add one more thing. Thanks to you and to Governor DeWine and Dr. Acton for your tremendous leadership during this unprecedented time. I mean, it's easy to be a leader when things are going well, but the signs of strong leadership, in my opinion, times when you're rocky and wobbly, and we certainly are that right now. And the reason why Ohio's been out in front of this is because of transparency, honesty, decisive decision-making. You watch the 2 o'clock reports, no petty disputes with reporters, no finger-pointing, no divisiveness. And I firmly believe we're in this together, not a slogan to you guys. It's refreshing and comforting during these frustrating and scary times. So Ohioans should be very proud of the leadership down in the State House. Thank you so very much.
Great. Have a great day.
You too. John Husted joining us, Lieutenant Governor here in the state of Ohio. Thank you for his time today here on B-Rock.